Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Donald Trump will take the oath of office. We'll wrap up the election for you and tell you who won some of the big elections in our region. We'll also review that ballot questions that were decided last night, and FST News' special report begins now. Interesting and exciting night as Republican nominee Donald Trump and former Secretary of State Democrat Hillary Clinton fought for 270 electoral votes. I'm Summer Reyes.
And I'm Ariel Bairez. We hope you enjoyed our day off from school. As you had the day off, millions of Americans cast their vote for the next president. FST News followed the election last night, as well as the several ballot questions that were voted upon. Let's start off with the President of the United States. According to NBC News, Donald Trump won the election. As of our newscast this morning, Minnesota, Michigan, Arizona, and New Hampshire are still too close to call at this hour.
Last night, just after 11, John Podesta, the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton, sent supporters home saying there would be no additional comments for the evening. At about 11:30, Secretary Clinton telephoned Donald Trump and conceded the election. At that point, most of the major networks called the election for Mr. Trump. According to a Clinton campaign news release, she will deliver her conceding remarks at 7:30 a.m. Donald Trump received 59,043,566 votes as this morning, giving him 270 electoral votes from across the country. The big story is that Florida went his way. Meanwhile, Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton received 59,181,793 votes, giving her 218 electoral votes, again as of this morning.
In the battle for the United States Senate, according to the Associated Press, Catherine Cortez Masto, the Democrat, earned 47% of the vote, while Republican Joe Heck received 45%, according to the Associated Press. This means that Catherine Cortez Masto will take office in early January, replacing Democrat Minority Leader Harry Reid as he retires from office. And she will become the first Latina elected into the U.S. Senate.
In the battle of who will lead the Clark County School District, according to the Clark County Election Department, incumbent Deanna Wright, whom you may have seen on campus from time to time, earned 52.79% of the vote, while former Foothill High School social studies teacher Richard Vaughn pulled 47.21%. District A includes Foothill, Basic, Boulder City, Coronado, Laughlin, Liberty, and College of Southern Nevada High School. The trustee position also serves 9 middle schools and 27 elementary schools. This decision is particularly important this election cycle as the Clark County School District prepares for reorganization.
Question 1 earned a lot of discussion within the state, but also on a national level. Generally speaking, Democrats want stricter gun control laws, while critics of Dems say that they want to repeal the Second Amendment. Republicans generally support the Second Amendment and lesser gun control laws. Question 1 reads, shall Chapter 202 of Nevada Revised Statutes be amended to prohibit, except in certain circumstances, a person from selling or transferring a firearm to another person unless a licensed dealer first conducts a federal background check on the potential buyer or transferee. Supporters of the question say that this will reduce the chances of criminals getting their hands on a gun after they've committed a crime. However, opponents say that criminals by definition don't follow laws and will still be able to obtain a gun. The results of the question determine how the state moves forward regarding such gun control. According to Associated Press, 558,586 voters say that there should be greater gun control measures, while 548,685 people cast their ballot in the opposite. The state voted yes to stricter gun control laws, but only by about 10,000 votes out of 1 million people voting.
Question 2 is garnering a lot of attention as the use of medical marijuana continues to face challenges at the federal level. In Nevada, voters are able to decide how marijuana will proceed. Question 2 asks, shall the Nevada revised statutes be amended to allow a person 21 years or older to purchase, cultivate, possess, or consume a certain amount of marijuana or concentrated marijuana, as well as manufacture, possess, use, transport, purchase, distribute, or sell marijuana paraphernalia, impose a 15% excise tax on wholesale sales of marijuana, require the regulation and licensing of marijuana cultivators, testing facilities, distributors, suppliers, and retailers, and provide for certain criminal penalties. Voting in the affirmative for this law will allow those 21 years and older to have, grow, or use marijuana. This does not make it legal for those under 21 to use marijuana. Regardless, according to AP, 56% of voters said they would support the measure along with a 15% tax, while 43% voted the question down.
Voting in the affirmative for question 3 would allow other electric companies to enter the Nevada market and prevent monopolies from occurring. Debatably, NV Energy has a monopoly in energy in Nevada, as they are the only electric company to provide service to residents in Las Vegas and Reno. Supporters say it would also allow solar companies to resume sales in Nevada after the legislature prohibited solar companies from performing services in the state. Question 3 reads, shall Article 1 of Nevada Constitution be amended to require the legislature to provide by law for the establishment of an open competitive retail electric energy market that prohibits the granting of monopolies and exclusive franchises for the generation of electricity? According to AP, 78% of voters say that there should be a free market to allow other companies to make money in the state, while 23% disagreed.
Question 4 relates to healthcare equipment. Supporters of the question say that there should be exemptions when it comes to healthcare equipment, meaning users shouldn't have to pay tax for such equipment. Opponents say while it's a good idea, it puts an increased emphasis on what should and shouldn't be taxed. Opponents say the state legislature already has the power to exempt this equipment. By adding this to the state law, it will make it more difficult to modify later. The question reads, shall Article 10 of the Nevada Constitution be amended to require the legislator to provide by law for exemption of the durable medical equipment, oxygen delivery equipment, and mobility enhancing equipment prescribed for use by a licensed healthcare provider from any tax upon the sale, storage, use, or consumption of tangible personal property? According to AP, 73% of voters say that the items should be tax exempt by law, while 27% say leave the law the way it is.
And finally, Clark County question 5 deals with the tax on fuel and our roadways. The measure says, shall Clark County continue indexing fuel taxes to the rate of inflation through December 31st, 2026, the proceeds of which will be solely for the purpose of improving public safety for roadway users and reducing traffic congestion by constructing and maintaining streets and highways in Clark County? What passage would do is allow the county government to increase the percentage of tax in every sale of gasoline in the country as inflation rises for the next 10 years. Supporters say that passage will improve roads in Clark County, reducing traffic congestion and make for a safer and shorter commute, while saving motorists money in the long run. Opponents say that this will open the door for as many as 10 separate tax increases on the public. 56% of people said that the tax should be fluid and move with inflation, while 44% said no, according to the Nevada Secretary of State's website.
It was an interesting presidential campaign. Donald formally announced his candidacy on June 16, 2015, while Hillary Clinton announced her run for president on April 12, 2015. What that means, it's been over a year since we've known who was vying for the highest office in the land. How did the campaigns do? Two students join us to discuss the highs and lows of this campaign cycle. Speech and debate senior Ryan Ballard joins us this morning, and senior Diolanda Caballero joins us to break down the election. Before we begin, we want to remind our viewers that FST News has not taken an official position in this race. Our general manager and advisor, Matt Mayhood, was certainly supporting Hillary Clinton, but did convey to us that it's important to respect the voice of the people. With that in mind, good morning. First, Ryan, how do you think the election went?
I think the election surprised everyone. I think it's safe to say that Donald Trump swept basically every important swing state he had to. He won Florida, he won Michigan, he won Wisconsin. Every state that he needed to show up, he did, and it showed that Hillary Clinton was slacking in the last week of her election.
And Diolanda, how do you think it went?
I unfortunately agree. I believe that we kind of slacked, especially I've seen Hillary Clinton kind of slack in everything. Mostly because some organizations like the Nevada Dems have been pushing so much for the Democratic vote, and she just wasn't excelling as much as everyone predicted in the states that she would win.
Well, I know one big thing that happened was Florida and how Donald Trump won Florida. What do you guys think about that?
I think what Florida ultimately came down to was the voter turnout, and Clinton simply didn't have enough people in Miami, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville to give her the edge, and Donald Trump ended up winning it by 100,000 votes. And I think what that really shows is how polarized Florida actually is when it comes to the electorate and who actually votes in that state.
Well, that brings up the turning point. What do you think was the turning point for Mr. Trump in the election, and what about Clinton?
I think the turning point for Trump was probably when Comey reopened the Clinton investigation about a week before the election, because I think up to that point, Clinton had done a good job regaining credibility, regaining trust with the American people. But as soon as that investigation reopened, the questions reappeared, and all the trust she had built up was just destroyed, and she wasn't able to rebuild it in the last week before the election.
That's very true.
I unfortunately agree as well. Another thing that I would say is that Hillary kind of slacked with a lot of her with her campaign, and a lot of people weren't as coherent to wanting to vote as much. For example, Florida, I know that Trump won because of the Cuban vote, actually, which was very surprising since most Cubans were with Hillary. But another thing that I would say would kind of be the turning point for the both of them, I think with Donald Trump, it's because he wanted to relate to the people. So I think that's something that really helped him gain whatever votes he had. And then another thing would most definitely be the fact that he wasn't like the normal politician. So I think because we are a new society, millennials were kind of like one of the biggest impactors of this. We wanted to see something new and fresh. So I think that was one of the also big things that helped him in this campaign.
And listening to you guys are surprised with the results, yeah?
Yes, very surprised. I didn't think Donald Trump was going to be able to pull it out simply because every poll had Hillary Clinton up by 10, 15% in a lot of the swing states, and it just seemed almost impossible for him to win most of the states that he did last night.
And I completely agree. Mostly because I've worked with a lot of politicians. I had an internship with Catherine Cortez Masto. I had an internship with Next Gen Climate, and everyone was very surprised because even though we all kind of realized that he had very vague policies, we just kind of sat there we never expected him to win the states he won. We were mostly thinking that Hillary was going to take Virginia and Florida, and it really just depended on the voter turnouts. And it kind of disappointed a lot of the Democrats because of the fact that a lot of us saw that people who didn't show up were the ones who said my vote doesn't count or my vote doesn't affect me at all.
And one last question. Do you guys think that if the Clinton emails hadn't been brought back up, do you think she would have won the election?
I think it really depends once again, on the voter turnout. I think the election kind of made her voters stay at home because they didn't think it was going to be relevant, and I think it made Donald Trump's supporters turn out more. So whether or not the turnout was really as affected as it seems to be by the emails will never be seen. And I think it really ultimately came down to turnout rather than the emails directly. So we'll never know.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree. I think that the turnout was what kind of messed up a lot of the election. I think also the little guy just stayed at home. So whatever happened, the little guy was trumped by Trump.
Mm-hmm. So on January 20th, 2017, President Donald Trump will be elected as the President of the United States of America.
With 278 electoral votes, Trump won the election. Coming up next, the battle between incumbent Deanna Wright and her challenger Richard Vaughn for Clark County School District trustee was a long, hard-fought battle. We'll tell you who the winner was, what's coming on this special edition of FST News. With the news of Donald Trump's victories, America isn't the only country being affected. According to CNN, financial markets around the world drastically adjusted. The S&P even went into crash protection as the results were coming in last night. This morning, people in downtown Portland took to the streets to share their views of last night's results and marched while shouting profanity toward Donald Trump. Also, President Putin of Russia said that he is willing to work with whomever the choice for president is.
Nevada has decided to implement the stricter gun control laws. So what does that mean? Question 1 reads, shall Chapter 202 of the Nevada State Revised Statutes be amended to prohibit, except in certain circumstances, a person from selling or transferring a firearm to another person unless a deferrally licensed dealer? All right, coming up after the break, we'll talk more about this election.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
As No School November continues on, Friday is another day off of school as we remember veterans. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, World War I fighting actually stopped during the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month. Veterans Day is observed on November 8th, regardless of what day it falls on. The Voice of the People 2016 isn't over yet. Keep watching FST News to learn any new information as it becomes available, so you can also watch the national networks to learn more.
That concludes our coverage of the Voice of the People. From all of us at FST News, thank you for watching.
Bye.